10-4, welcome back to the channel. Bitcoin continues to move higher. Is the bottom end? Should we be buying right now? Well, there's a couple things that we need to go through, and I want to show you a few things leading up to this point that will kind of help us determine that, right? And so by the end of this, hopefully you will go away or walk away with a decision on whether you should start exposing yourself to Bitcoin right now. So let's jump right into it. So first we're looking at the VIX, which measures the fear in the S&P 500. And so if you watch my previous video, you would know that there's an extreme high correlation between what happens with the S&P and what happens in Bitcoin. And so any reading above 30 is a sign that there's extreme fear. But since that peak, we are now down 35%, and we're holding here around 24.31 on the VIX, which says that investors baking in that, okay, we know that the economy is not doing great. We know that the Fed is committed to lowering inflation. And so at some point, we're just going to have to deal with it, right? And so as investors become more and more comfortable in the environment that we are in, the more confident they get to start entering it into the market. You can kind of see the same thing here, fear and greed index of Bitcoin. And so although we're still in a bad place, you can see here where we're coming out of that red going into that orange territory, right? So that signifies that's more and more confidence that are coming into the market. Again, we're not totally out the clear in my opinion here, but we are seeing some improvement. We're coming out of that red going into that orange where we want to continue to increase from. Here we're looking at a part of Bitcoin, and you can see where I have here the market psychology phases. The first thing I also wanted to say is you really never know when the bottom is until you're actually looking back. And so it's really not a good thing to try to time the bottom. However, us as investors, we try to grab data points and look at certain things that will kind of give us an idea of good accumulation areas. And then we slowly start to expose our portfolios. So you can see here, just to kind of walk you through, again, the psychological phases that occurred over the last couple months or so, over the last year, basically. And so you can see where we had the takeoff, where it says takeoff, right? We had the takeoff, right? We hit the top here, where we went through the first sell-off, right? We got the media attention, everybody talking about Bitcoin, ABC News, CNBC, everyone is talking about it, right? Enthusiasm, right? Greed. Right now we're going to Thanksgiving and Christmas, and we're talking about Bitcoin and what's been happening in the crypto market with our families and our friends. And so now we get into the delusion phase, right? And then there's a new paradigm, right? Which is right out here at the top, right? You can see it right here. And then we go through denial, right? The return to normal, right? And then there's more fear, right? And then we get the bull trap, right? We push up, bull trap, right? Just for us to go down more feel, and then we get the capitulation, right? And here's how you can really kind of tell whether capitulation is sitting in the market is because you get the high volume, the high selling pressure starts to come in, and that's exactly what happened. You started getting these new legs down. Bitcoin came, consolidated, we got more legs down, right? The capitulation volume just continued to increase until we hit despair. And now it seemed like we're here to the return to the mean, right? We seem like there's more and more positivity, less fear starting to slowly creep back into the market. Capitulation is usually the signal for the bottom. And so here also we're looking at here a BTC aggregated liquidations chart, which is which shows the buys and sells. And you can see again, at the top, we had tons of volume that came in here, right? Tons of buying and selling that was going on in the market. But then right here, I want to just point this out, is November of 2021 is when the Fed started to commit that, hey, things are getting out of control and that we need to tighten up on inflation. You can see the volume start to thin out. And actually, as we started going down, we had more sales were coming in, a lot more. The volume started to come in, more and more people were selling. And I always go back to this story because this was sort of like the kickoff to everything that started to happen. Terra Luna's UST situation that occurred, where they dumped literally almost about 80 million or maybe more into the markets of BTC. And look, here's a chart that shows that where the Luna Foundation, this is the amount of Bitcoin that they had. And then you can see where there was a capitulation sell, right? Capitulation sell, and they dumped all of that Bitcoin into the market. From that point, there were many other companies, and the reason why is because these other companies were actually involved with the Luna, right? They had exposure to Luna, and so that's when you started to see stories like this. Crypto crash drags lender Celsius Network into bankruptcy. Crypto hedge fund The Arrows Capital plunges into liquidation as market crashes, right? Crypto crashes continue as lender Voyager Digital files for bankruptcy. So you kind of see what I'm talking about here. A lot of these companies had ties into Luna, and so when Luna completely dumped, the contagion started to kick in. Then we had here the miners started to capitulate. Miner capitulation, right? Crypto miners moved over 300 million of Bitcoin in one day, and some are dropping out altogether because the cost of production actually start to outweigh the amount of revenue that they were getting in. And so in order for you to continue in business, you have to have revenue, right? Your revenue have to exceed the cost of production. The reverse was happening, so they had to start dumping. And this was actually pretty recent. To this point, although the miners are starting to dump or dumping even more on the market, you can see that the reverse is happening in the market. Bitcoin is actually increasing in price, is actually going up. So market stopped going down when there is no more sellers. And here's what I'm thinking that happened. As the miners started to dump in all of their Bitcoin, you actually have buyers to come in and buy it back up, which the reason why Bitcoin is actually going up right now. And so you can see here this little chart that shows, well, the revenue started to decline dramatically. If production is costing you more than the revenue that you get in business, period, I don't think that's going to be a good business that will be sustainable for the long period. So you had some miners that had to get out of the market. They had to dump their Bitcoin in order for them to continue to survive. And so here, what we're looking at here is the Bitcoin price drawdown from all-time high. And as you can see, where from this was 2011, from this drawdown, right, which was the bottom, the very next drawdown level was actually a little less, right? So it seems like over time we've been getting higher lows. Right now we're right here, and so you can see where we are right in that particular territory, right in that area where we've experienced 70+% drawdown in Bitcoin, and now the price is actually moving up. The other thing I wanted to look at here is the 200-week moving average tells us that each time that we were hitting that 200-week line, those presented opportunities to buy, and those who bought was rewarded. Same here, right? Same here. And now we're here, sitting here. If you were brave enough to buy, then your position will probably be up. Now, here's a couple things that I'm still looking for. So if you watched my previous video, I said here on the weekly chart, the first sign for me to tell me whether we were going to continue to get more bullish action is that I needed to see a push above high from the week of July 4th, right? So currently we're there. Let's just zoom in a little bit more. And so currently we're here, right? We're holding nicely above the week of July 4th. Now, we still have a couple more days here in the week before the week actually closes out. So if we can close and hold here, then again, I think Bitcoin is going to come up into this area, right, which is around $30,000 Bitcoin. A few other things that you want to be looking out for is that the Fed still have the meeting, and so right after the last CPI data, we had a few of the Fed chair presidents to come out favoring a 75 basis point increase. And so the market is now baking in that we're going to have more favorable increases because I think we may have seen the worst, right? Inflation and interest rates may have hit a top and we could be tapering off towards the bottom. So as that happens, risky assets like the stock market and Bitcoin and cryptocurrency tend to move in the other direction. So you let me know. Tell me, are we at the bottom? Are you buying in now? If you're not, well, you may want to consider, not financial advice, but you may want to consider dollar cost averaging, right? Maybe putting in 1 to 2% of your portfolio size and start exposing yourself to Bitcoin. The other thing, when we get bigger increases, is using why Bitcoin is having, which is the next one is going to be 2024, which is about another year and a half from now. So will this be maybe a short flipping a pan right before we take another leg down? Or is this it? Guys, I want to hear from you. Like, comment, subscribe, smash up that like button so that the algorithms know that I'm making these wonderful videos for you guys. All right, and that's all I have for you today. I'm Tim Ford. To the next time, out.